Hi, I'm Ztarli, and in this video I'll be drawing an ASD Drake from the game Day of Dragons. In this video I mostly use the bamboo pen for painting, the soft round marker for softer colouring, and then the round brush for the frill. I always use a felt marker whenever I'm using the smudge tool, and I do also use a custom brush near the end of the video when painting the background. At the moment I am doing my sketch using the bamboo pen. It is my most used brush and I use it in nearly every painting unless I've made an effort to use something else. I use the felt marker whenever smudging, as I do find it grabs and pulls the colour better than some other brushes and gives me a more satisfying smudged or blurring in of the colours. So yes, I am drawing an ASD Drake from the game Day of Dragons. I have actually drawn several ASD Drakes before, but I never had a recording of them, and I have recently changed to a new ASD Drake. I did get rid of my Acid Harvest Drake as it did have very poor stats, and I just felt like it was time for a bit of a change. So this is my Charred Foliage ASD Drake, which I'm currently eldering on US4. I did actually have a plan in mind whilst making this particular Drake. I wanted to be able to easily change the colours so that if I did choose to do a different Drake later on, I could adjust the layers and easily make it into a different colour Drake without having to redraw the whole thing. So essentially what I'm doing to begin with is just making a one coloured Drake. So it's just all going to be this one sort of greeny colour. And then I'll make the thorns that hold the frill up a separate layer and the frill itself a separate layer, as well as the eyes and the adding of the pink tones. They're all going to be on separate layers so I can individually adjust them to make different coloured ASD Drakes. So that's why I didn't start straight away with with adding all those blotchy patterns on, and you'll see that later on once I finish adding the sort of shading to this colour that I'll then add the splodges and different colours for the Charred Foliage Drake. I should also mention that the reference pictures to the left there are screenshots from the game Day of Dragons, so these are actually in-game pictures that I took whilst playing as my Charred Foliage ASD Drake. I will, as usual, there will be a link to the game in the description below the video as well. This drawing actually only took me 2.5 hours, so it's one of my shorter pieces. I was actually quite pleasantly surprised at how little time this actually took me, since I didn't really feel like I was rushing, and I was very happy with the overall image. If you were paying attention during my last video, I did talk about doing a larger piece that was going to take me a lot longer. I am actually still doing that. I just decided that I wouldn't upload any part of it until I'd fully finished the picture, since I don't actually know how long it will take me yet. But that when it is done, that is likely to be in 2 or 3 parts, so it's not going to be one video, as I do plan to spend as long as it takes to make sure that the image looks good, because I want to make it look really good, and it has a full background and 2 creatures in it and stuff. So you'll have to wait a little bit longer to see what I had in mind for that video. Hopefully I'll have finished it by next week, so hopefully the first part will be the next large video I upload. But you'll also have a little speed paint snack in between now and then at the very least. I did get a winner for the crunching noise for my last speed paint snack, so I will be drawing the winner's character, which they've sent to me already. So that will be up between now and my next large video. There's so many little scales I need to draw in this Drake. I probably could have gotten away with just a couple of spots just to give the idea of them, but I don't know, there's something relaxing about drawing lots of tiny little scales. So I kind of really enjoy drawing ASD Drakes because of all their tiny, tightly packed scales. I find it quite fun to draw all these. I am finding it a little bit difficult not to add extra colors in this, so I was quite happy once I'd finished with the flat coloring or the the colouring of the drake, so I could then move on to adding different tones and different colours into it, as I do find using just one colour and, you know, just using the one colour with different shades a bit boring. So the drake's pretty much done now. I'm just doing the frill and then just the eyes and the mouth, and then I'll be able to go on and add some more colour into the actual drake itself with its little splodges of black and dustings of orange and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know, I think this kind of looks very flat without the extra colours in it. It doesn't look very three-dimensional, which is why I always do mix colours in, and I would normally have already done that, but as I mentioned before, I do want to be able to easily change the colours on this dragon so that I can make other versions of it, and that's easier to do that if you haven't mixed other colours in, because if you want to use this hue or saturation slider, it's going to change all the colours you've used. So if you've used more than one, you might end up with a colour on there you don't actually want. So that's why I chose not to add extra colours into the drake itself. And the actual, like these pink tones I'm adding on now with the tongue and around the eyes, they're actually in a separate layer. So when I do the hue changing of the drake itself, it won't affect these colours. They'll still be pink because they're on a separate layer. So in a moment I am going to add the extra blotches in, so I've just got to finish these teeth off and then colour in the eyes, and then basically what I'm going to do to get started with the different colouring and different blotches is I'm going to duplicate the green drake layer, and then I'm going to use the hue and saturation slider to change it to a dark, like a dark almost black colour. And then I'm going to erase away that layer to reveal the lighter colour, the green underneath. And then I'll use the smudge tool to sort of blur the edges of that in a bit. And then I will manually paint more scales over it. I did actually create a second layer to do the oranges, but I decided it was too much and there's so little orange on this dragon that I decided it would be much easier if I just manually drew in the orange parts on it when I was adding in the rest of the coloured scales. Once I finished drawing this one, I've drawn all my dragons are up to date again. So I've got my constellation shadow scale, I've got the grey shimmer flame stalker, and this is my charred foliage acid spitter. So they're the three I have on US 4. Two of them are elders because this one is new, it's not elder yet, but the shadow scale and the flame stalker I have are all elders now. The shadow scale is actually quite an old dragon of mine, so it doesn't actually have points in fertility, but it does have the old sort of better pluses and pluses before they made changes to the breeding system. And at the time I didn't really want to do anything else with the dragon, so I put all my points into agility and speed and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like useless for breeding, but it is still fun to fly around and like be an elder and have the deeper, cooler calls. The flame stalker, I didn't intend to keep the grey. I actually really like the grey, but when they add the gold skin, I will probably change to a gold flame stalker. So I did put all my points in that into fertility because at the time people was really needing the elder flame stalkers to be able to get those pluses and pluses. So he's got flat A's at the moment. He doesn't have any pluses himself, but it does still help to breed with the elder so that you can get the crits and super crits for the eggs for that one. And it took forever to elder the flame stalker, so I'm not doing that again until I get a different color that I like better than the one I've already got. Now you can see I'm in the final stages of coloring the dragon now, as I'm adding the final high highlights, which are almost white. They're not quite white, they're kind of like a little bit of an blue in there, but I'm now ready to move on to the background. So I'm just going to adjust the positioning of the dragon, and then I'm going to use, well, first I'm going to paint a background, which is just going to be the backgrounds that exist in the game at the moment. So it's just going to be like a bunch of trees and some reddish dirt. And then after I've finished with the background, then I will be using the symmetry tool to do the border for the picture. So that's why I did adjust the positioning of the dragon first. I wanted to make sure it was exactly centered, so that when I do go to use the symmetry tool, I don't have the problem I usually do, which is if I turn the symmetry tool off and on again, it ends up misaligned and I can't make any changes later on. So this is actually perfectly centered now, so that circle is in the center of my drawing, and when I turn on symmetry, it will automatically be in the center and aligned, even if I turn it off and then back on again. So that's why I aligned it first before doing the coloring of the background. But yeah, just a fairly basic background here. I am using my custom brush, so I did make my own custom brush. It's actually the one I used as an example in my how to make brushes in Artflow video. It is basically just a rectangle that I've just fiddled with the settings with, but for some reason I really love it. I've used it in so many backgrounds. It's just fun to use, so I use it a fair bit. I seem to have a love-hate relationship with the symmetry tool. I always create like a fully detailed border, and then I decide I hate it and I destroy it and make a new one. So at the moment I'm just trying to figure out what I actually want to do. I had some okay ideas, but they were pretty crummy, and then I decided I was going to do like an acidy, because acid spitter, so I was going to put like bright acid blobs everywhere, and I spent quite a long time painting all this in, adding little flecks in it and stuff, but I decided, I don't know, it just looked too bitsy. It was too distracting, so I do delete this. Unfortunately, as you can see, I've spent quite a long time doing it. I probably wasted like an hour doing the background alone, but it was still fun, and I always learn stuff from it. And I added like a underlight of like an aqua color that I thought looked really good onto this. But in the end, said it was too bitsy and too distracting from the character, so I decided to get rid of it, and instead I just went with like a bunch of sticks tied together, which did not take long at all. It took me way less time than it did to make this thing, but oh well. I think it looked better, as it's way less distracting, didn't take very long, and the overall, I think it suits the overall picture better anyway. But what did you all think? Did you think it looks better with the acid border, or do you like my new little sticks better? Do you think the sticks look better? Acid or sticks? Let me know. But this is pretty much done now. I just got to put the final touches on and then give it a signature. And I'm finally done with this one. But yeah, it didn't take too long. 2.5 hours is decent for me. So, and I'm quite happy with how the colors came out. Like, I like how the colors blended together, even though at the beginning it was all one color and I had to add like some extra scales and stuff to blend it into the rest of the picture. I'm really pleased with how this came out. I think it's a pretty solid picture. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm actually going to change this to my icon or not. I kind of drew it and then was like, oh, I kind of really like my current icon a lot, but I always need to have a drawing of my current dragon, so I had to redraw it anyway. I was always going to redraw it. But yeah, so just final adjusting to just dull down that background a little bit, and some final adjustments for hue and saturation just to make it just pop it out just a little bit more, and we're finished with this. So yay, new charred foliage, acid spitter drake. I'm really happy with it. Well, thanks everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give me a like, and if you'd like to see more, then subscribe to my channel. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me. Well, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!